Good morning. It is the August bank holiday, and something is clearly very wrong with the world because it's a lovely day. That never happens. You join me beside the River Thames in West London. Very specifically, this is Richmond upon Thames. A lovely part of the world. Once upon a time part of Surrey, now a London suburb. And the reason I'm here is because this town sits at one end of one of the longest tube lines in London. The District Line. It's the green one on the map. And my plan today, to enjoy the bank holiday to its fill, is to walk from one end of the District Line, here in Richmond, all the way to its other end in Upminster. That's about 35 miles away in what was once Essex. On the way, I'm going to stop at every station. I believe there's 42 en route. And see the District Line in its entirety. But first things first is we have to head away from the gorgeous riverside here and up towards Richmond Station, the first stop on our walk. Leaving the picturesque riverside scenery behind then, I headed through the centre of Richmond, towards the starting point of my walk, Richmond Station. The very first of no less than 42 tube stations that I'd be visiting today. My walk would be taking me right across the width of London. The plan was to follow the District Line as it cuts through the heart of the capital. And although I wouldn't quite have time to visit every station on the line's various branches off towards Ealing, Wimbledon and Edgware Road, my aim was to pay a visit to every single stop on the 25-mile route between Richmond and Upminster. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to walk right beside the train line the whole way, so my route would be a bit longer at around 35 miles. 35 miles, during which I'd encounter everything from some of London's most iconic landmarks to world-famous neighbourhoods, bustling city streets, and even a few quieter, lesser-known, and even rural spots. The start point, though, was Richmond, home to a gorgeous Art Deco station that would be the first of 42 en route to Upminster. Okay, Richmond, stop number 1 of 42 on this long day out. So what I'm going to do at each place is I'm going to take a picture with myself at the station, just like this, to prove that I have actually walked the whole distance. Basically, let's get going. 10:25 in the morning. District Line. Let's begin. And so the walk began. Out here in the western suburbs of London, the stations are situated, or even stationed, a little further apart. So it would be about a 20-minute walk from Richmond to stop number 2, Kew Gardens, popular with tourists visiting the world-famous botanical gardens, but special to me for a slightly different reason. Fun fact for you, I am from here. This is my hometown, I'm from Kew. Lovely place to grow up, quite posh. But yeah, I went to school just a couple of roads away. In fact, we'll go past my primary school in a few minutes' time. Good memories. But first, we have got to find the station. Kew Gardens Station. That's the second stop on the District Line. There you go, Kew Gardens. I've used that station a billion times. That's my local. So yeah, of course, that means time we must take a picture of ourselves at the station. I'm terrible at taking selfies, as they call them. But there you go, Kew. That's number 2, ticked off the list. Next up is Gunnersbury. It's quite a long way away. On the other side of the River Thames. We've got to cross the river. But let's walk through a little bit more of Kew first. we are coming up on my school just here, which I will show you. Haha, this is my primary school. I went here from nursery to year 6. Lots of good memories, lots of trauma, of course. Fun fact for you though, across the road, directly across the road from our school, there's another school, just there. They call it King's now. It used to be called Queen's when Queen Elizabeth II was on the throne. And they were our mortal enemies for years. And there was one, I'll tell you one fun story. Is for some reason our school decided to have like an opening ceremony or something for when we got our first school minibus. Why, I don't know, but we had balloons and everything. It was like an occasion. I think I was 10, I think I was in year 5. Anyway, I remember it vividly because the kids at Queen's, it was break time for them, but they started chucking stones across the road at our new minibus. Oh dear. That was a fun one. So yes, proper rivalry, proper local rivalry that only I care about, sort of 20 years later. Oh dear. That's my school. We need to get moving. Yes, after a nice trip down memory lane, it was about time to start making headway into this lengthy walk across London. Having checked off the District Line's first 2 stations, it was time for me to make an important crossing of the River Thames via Kew Bridge, the only time that I'd be crossing the river all day, as the train line follows its northern bank for much of the route. Now, on the northern side, I took a pleasant stroll along the gorgeous riverfront parade known as Strand on the Green, where I actually caught a glimpse of the route that I was going to be shadowing across the city all day. As you just saw, that is the railway bridge, that's the District Line, where it crosses the river. We're not going to see many trains today. If you're into trains, this might be a rubbish video. We'll see the outside of lots of stations, but not many trains. But you can see how difficult it is. Oh, there's another train. Hang on, here we go. But you can see, of course, that we cannot follow the line exactly as it goes. All the way. So the walk is going to be longer than the length of the line. After this brief encounter with the Underground, I made my way through some suburban streets towards Gunnersbury, station number 3, and the first of a number of stations which run through the equally affluent area of Chiswick. Afterwards came Turnham Green, Stamford Brook, and the rather fetching Ravenscourt Park, before the major interchange at Hammersmith, station number 7. Yes, so that's Hammersmith, that's quite a big station. Change for the Piccadilly and Hammersmith and City and Circle lines. But we're following the District Line today. I always remember getting the train into London from Kew. When you got to Hammersmith, that was where you started to feel like, well, we're getting to the big city. Obviously it's not. This is still West London. But it's getting gradually noisier and busier as the day goes on. Yes, indeed, there was still a long way to go, but I was now travelling further and further towards the heart of London. And after a brief stop at the gorgeous Baron's Court, I found myself entering the upmarket area of Kensington, one of the richest neighbourhoods, not just in London, but the whole world. It's quite nice around here these days. Very, very posh. A lot of these buildings, though, are used as like hotels and Airbnbs, I believe. I know a lot of tourists when they come stay in London, because nobody can afford to stay in sort of Westminster or Soho, the West End, but a lot of people stay around here, Earl's Court, Kensington. Okay, this is Earl's Court, another big station. This is where they used to have one of the biggest exhibition centres in London. Long gone now, sadly. But fun little thing outside the station. If you just turn around, there's a police box, or a TARDIS, like in Doctor Who. So, if you like Doctor Who, or the authorities, then come down to Earl's Court. I, meanwhile, have to get a move on. I did, because despite having been walking for more than 2 hours already, I'd only visited 10 of the 42 District Line stations for the day. So the walk through the opulent streets of Kensington continued, with stops at Gloucester Road and South Kensington tube stations, before things became even posher as I made my way towards station number 13, Sloane Square. So that was Sloane Square. Awful station. They've been doing it up for what seems like years, despite this being a very sort of affluent area. But we are now out of Kensington officially and into, I'll show you on this road sign, the city of Westminster. This is proper central London now. We've been on the go just under 3 hours. It's just gone 1 o'clock. So this is now, it's a fairly quick dash, I believe, across the heart of London. Victoria is the next station, and then soon enough we'll be at Big Ben, and then Tower Bridge and the Tower of London, and that'll be it. So we've got to enjoy these sort of quieter streets for a while, because it's going to get really busy. And sure enough, after enjoying the last bit of tranquility on the streets between Sloane Square and Victoria, all of a sudden I found myself inside the beating heart of London. There is a tube station, as you can see just behind me, but it's buried deep underground, obviously, so I thought I'd come in here and show you an iconic Victorian railway station. Gateway to the south coast. Get the train down to Dover or Brighton from here. Of course, you could also catch the District Line, which is what we're doing. No, we're not. The whole point is that we're not. We're carrying on walking, Victoria Station complete, and we'll make our way out of the main exit. Look at this. Spectacular building. Amazing. Right. 14 stations down now, and well in the thick of the action in the capital, I fancied a slight change of scenery. Luckily, just a short walk from Victoria Station, I knew there was an interesting bit of local history that I decided to go and have a look at. I don't know who lives there. There's no name on the letterbox or anything, but looks nice, I suppose. Whatever. St James's Park, next station. Why do I have to do that stupid grin every time I take a picture? I have no idea. Anyway, that's St James's Park. Next up is a big one, because I can see an abbey in the distance. I mean, there's not really much to say, I suppose. No, there is something to say. Because this was a monastery located west of the City of London, the old walled city. That's why this area is called Westminster, the monastery west of London, and hence Westminster Abbey. There's another building on the other side of this green, by the way. I don't know if you could see it. mean, Big Ben is very impressive, obviously, but it's not what we're looking for here. Next station is Westminster, which is just on the other side of the road, under that modernish looking building. Always absolutely packed outside that station, so I'll have to quickly duck in, get a picture and get out. Not a very good picture, but I've got to get out of here.
Yes, making my way away from the busy crowds of tourists surrounding Big Ben, I joined up with the pavement alongside the River Thames, gazing across the water towards the London Eye. This was an important milestone on my walk, because the District Line closely follows the route of the River Thames as it makes its way through central London. So I could simply follow it for about a mile and a half, during which time I passed the stations at Embankment and Temple, before then approaching Blackfriars as I entered the historic city of London.
We're about to leave Westminster, which is a city that's part of Greater London, and we're about to enter the City of London, the old walled city, and you can see the border just here. So there we are, we're in a completely different city now, a different county in fact. The City of London is its own county, separate to Greater London. So Westminster and London are as different, legally speaking, as Manchester and Liverpool, Leeds and Sheffield. So we've got to run through the City of London. It's called the Square Mile because that's how big it is, so it won't take long. And it'll come to an end at Tower Hill, where we should see the old Roman walls by the Tower of London.
After a stop at Blackfriars then, I made my way into the streets of the city, which, unlike Westminster, were eerily quiet. The office buildings that are usually full of big city workers, of course vacant on this August bank holiday. Despite being just 1 square mile in size though, the city boasts 4 District Line stations, the next 2 of which are located literally just a few steps apart.
It's very confusing, this part of London, because Mansion House is like part of Bank Station, because the Bank of England is just down that street. The other cool thing about this area is this is the shortest gap between 2 stations, I think, on the whole route. Cannon Street, which is next up, I can already see it.
It took me just 73 seconds to walk from Mansion House to Cannon Street, where I of course snapped another quick photo before continuing on my way. Next was Monument, named after the nearby monument to the Great Fire of London in 1666. And after that was an even more historic stop, Tower Hill, which brought me to the edge of the old walled city of London, and face to face with yet more world-famous sights.
Not really much I need to say about that either. One of the oldest buildings in the country. Originally built, I believe, for William the Conqueror. That's the central part, the White Tower they call it. But I think it was used as a fortress long before then. But heading down to the river around the Tower of London, because there is a bridge here that we must not forget to take a look at. I am pretty terrible when it comes to sort of appreciating London landmarks. These are incredible sort of world famous landmarks. But because I'm from here, it's a bridge, it's a castle. If that was in Scunthorpe, I'd love it. If that bridge was in Grimsby, oh dear.
Yes, after a bit of bar humbug down by Tower Bridge, it was about time that I got out of the centre of London and headed eastwards on my way towards Upminster, at the other end of the District Line. After a stop at Tower Hill Station for a picture and a brief look at part of the old Roman wall of Londinium, It almost felt like I was approaching the end of my walk. After all, I'd covered 16 miles and already walked through West London and Central London. So now surely all that was left was East London. But on looking at the map, I remembered that the eastern portion of the district line, which stretches towards the border with Essex, composes roughly half the length of the whole route. And there were still more than 20 miles and 19 stations still to go. Fortunately, after passing Aldgate East, next up I was going to follow just one road for almost 3 miles. Part of the historic route from the gates of the City of London that once led all the way towards Norwich in East Anglia. Today it's known as Mile End Road, which led me through the vibrant market at Whitechapel and past stops at Stepney Green and Mile End Station itself. Afterwards was Bow Road, and then a turn off the Old Straight Road towards Bromley by Bow, which led me into a peculiar, almost secluded part of the capital.
Now this is pretty cool. We're on an island in the middle of the River Lee. It's one of the main rivers that goes through East London. And this is called 3 Mills Island. Can you guess why? 3 mills, which we can see just here. Gorgeous buildings. The history apparently goes back probably 1,000 years, milling on the River Lee. I think these ones belong to a monastery, but they were in action for about 600 years, I think, right up until the 1950s. It's a gorgeous little spot, not particularly well known, I think, outside of people who live in this part of London. But it's quite a tranquil little oasis in the middle of East London.
Indeed, the quiet cobbles of 3 Mills Island were exactly what I'd been looking for after having crossed the busy city centre, boosting morale as the remaining few hours of my walk to Upminster still stretched out before me. After leaving the island and returning to the mainland, I planned to make use of a handy footpath known as the Greenway, on my way to the next stop at West Ham. But when I climbed up onto it, I encountered a bit of a problem.
Okay, so this is the Greenway. It's like an elevated footpath, which is a really handy link towards West Ham Station. I don't know when it was built, whether it was originally a road and converted into a footpath. I know they did it up when the Olympics were on in 2012, just down the road in Stratford. Obviously, considering the summer we've had, it's not particularly green, it's more sort of yellow. But it's a really useful footpath. It does strike me as the kind of place where you would absolutely get mugged if you came up here when it was dark, because there's no way off. It's just the path. And is it closed? Please tell me no. Oh, it's closed. Brilliant. Okay, all of that positivity. Forget about it. No, they're doing it up a bit. Okay, so it's not a really handy link to West Ham. I'm going to have to find a diversion.
Frustratingly, just as soon as I'd hopped up onto it, I had to hop back down off the Greenway and onto a mile-long detour through the streets of West Ham, before finally reaching the very swish tube station, number 30 on my walk. With all that toing and froing though, more than half an hour had passed since station number 29 at Bromley by Bow. But fortunately, a steady flow of stops now lay ahead, as I made my way through a local park towards Plaistow, which was then followed by Upton Park and East Ham, each situated right in the heart of some very busy high streets. Now over 6 hours and 24 miles into the day, I'll admit that it was around this point that I was beginning to tire, drained by the heat of this unusually warm bank holiday, coupled with clear blue skies and blaring sunshine. Fortunately, next up on my route was Barking, a major station on the district line which sits right in the middle of its town centre, granting me the chance to make a pit stop at a local shop for a drink to replenish my energy supplies. With my shopping complete then, I headed into Barking town centre, where I'd find my next station, number 34 for the day.
Okie dokie Barking. Woof woof woof. I popped into the shop back there, got a couple of drinks, and now we're going down the main road in town, and I can see Barking Station up ahead on the left. Okay, big station, big milestone. From here on out, I would count it as Suburban. Is Dagenham Suburban? Yeah. So yeah, no, we're going to head out of Barking now. Cannot remember what is next or where I actually have to go.
Next up was a walk towards Upney, station number 35. This meant that there were just 7 stops left to the end of my walk. And while that may sound like the finish was in sight, a glance at the map reminded me that the stations here at the eastern end of the district line begin to get quite far spaced apart. Having grown accustomed to seeing a new station every few minutes or so in the centre of London, it was now about a mile between stops. The gaps between stations largely composed of residential roads, and in some cases nice suburban parks, as I ticked off Becontree, Dagenham Heathway and Dagenham East. But not all was well as I made my way through these last few stations.
Okay, the game has changed all of a sudden. Just as I was coming off the Heathway there, I felt something really bad. I'm pretty sure on my left foot I felt a blister go pop. Oh, I'm sorry if you're having your dinner or anything, it's not nice. And it's quite painful. I'll walk through it. I've done that before many a time, but it's never nice. And I haven't had this situation for quite a while actually, so we'll get used to it, but I'm all padded up on the feet. So why that's happened, I don't know. I was feeling fine. Hey ho.
This was a really frustrating development, but I had to soldier on. After all, I had just 4 stops left now until I reached Upminster, and success, for the very first time, was in sight. Now hobbling slightly as I made my way out of Dagenham, I was thrust very much out of suburbia into what really felt like the edge of London. The almost rural Beam Valley Country Park offering a pleasant change of scenery, and thankfully somewhere to rest my ailing feet for a brief moment.
I think about an hour and a half till we get to the end. I tell you what, I'm going to just, because it's been a long old walk, I'm going to have a sit down on the bench, which is probably a terrible idea, because when you stop, it's horrible getting started again. Yep.
This was a low point for sure, but with blue skies over the trees of this delightful country park, my brief stop did the trick, re-energising me for the final 4.5 miles of walking to Upminster. The first objective was to reach Elm Park, which came after a wiggly walk through what were now very quiet suburban streets. This was then followed by another mile's walk towards Hornchurch, and then the very last push, towards the town, which lends its name to the last 2 stops on the District Line.
The sky looks absolutely beautiful in the distance. 1.2 miles to go. And 2 stations. Upminster Bridge. Now, normally I haven't been going inside these stations, but let me show you something. Picture time for the second last time, because now that we've seen our swastika, we can move on to the final stop of our walk. Upminster. One station to go. Come on.
Yes, after more than 9 hours on the go now, there was just 1 station left to visit. It had been a long old day. The tranquil riverside scenery of Richmond earlier in the morning, a world away from where I now found myself. But as I made my way towards the finish, I was able to reflect on an epic walk across London, one of the world's biggest cities, where I'd encountered everything from iconic historic landmarks to gorgeous natural scenery, a wide variety of vibrant local communities, and of course, 41 tube stations, having followed the District Line all the way across the city. That number was about to become 42. But before I made my way to the line's terminus, there was one more landmark that I wanted to take a look at. The kind of landmark that you don't really see in London, and a reminder of just how close to Essex and the countryside I now was.
That is a nice gift. A cherry on top of the cake. I love a windmill.
Built more than 200 years ago, back in 1803, the Upminster windmill stood in the middle of what was once an Essex farm, and today is one of just 9 windmills that remain within the boundaries of what we now call Greater London. The sails of this fetching structure were a wonderful sight at the end of my long walk. But I hadn't quite reached the finish line yet. That was, of course, Upminster Station. Station number 42. The very last on the District Line.
You know what? I can see Upminster Station. It's there. I can see it. 3-minute walk away, if that. Be less. We've done it. What do I say? What do I say? I mean, I made it. I have walked from Richmond to Upminster. Along the length of the District Line, stopping off at every station. And it's there. There's one thing left for us to do before we get on the train, and that is picture time. Utter joy. Right. Should we get the train? made it. We made it all the way. Look at what it says on the dot matrix. This is amazing. This is a District Line train to Richmond. So there we go. Not much to say really. I am in agony as always. But I made it. I actually succeeded at something. It was a long day, but what gorgeous weather. I get to sit on the train all the way back. So all I have to say really is, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope that was interesting. I really liked it. The weather was amazing. We got through plenty of obstacles, and we're here on a train in Upminster, the District Line. What a line. See you again, and thank you for watching.